Hi, this is Joe Elsasser, President and founder of Covisum and also a practicing financial advisor. And welcome to another FinPlan Friday. Today's topic is the recently released Social Security Trust Fund report for 2022. As an advisor, you may be wondering, what are the salient talking points? What are the things that I need to be aware of in order to communicate effectively on the topic of Social Security with my clients? So we need to provide a little bit of historical context. The 2020 Social Security Trustees report was actually released before the pandemic began, or at least the analysis was completed before the pandemic began. And as a result, it incorporated no impacts of the pandemic. Now, 2021's Trustees report did incorporate the effects of the pandemic, and as a result, we saw Social Security trust fund depletion dates that moved forward pretty significantly in the 2021 report, with the combined Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance Fund, so OASDI, depletion date in 2021 projected as 2034, and the Retirement Benefit Only Fund, OASI, depletion date in 2033. Now, in 2022, the outlook actually got a little bit better. So the projected depletion date in 2022 is 2035 for the combined trust funds and 2034 for just the Retirement Benefit Trust Fund. And after that point, trust funds, I guess then current income, is projected to be able to continue to pay about 77% of promised benefits. So what we often don't see in the headline is that second part. Even after trust fund depletion, approximately 77% of benefits would still be payable by then current tax revenue. So that's the first thing that we as advisors need to be prepared to communicate, is the combination of what are the potential dates that matter, number one. And number two, after those dates, assuming that Congress can't get together and agree on a fix, what is the potential impact were cuts to appear across the board? Now that said, the reality isn't so simple. The likelihood that cuts would be applied across the board is very low. Instead, what we're more likely to see is a combination of cuts that impact higher income earners more than they impact lower wage earners. And the reason we're likely to see that is in each major reform, 1983 being the most recent, there's a real focus on equity. And whenever Congress has to take up the topic of Social Security, you tend to have push and pull, not just pull. And so what we're more likely to see is some form of benefit cut combined with some sort of new tax revenue and maybe even some supplemental income coming from general revenues. Now that would be a first in our history. Social Security has always been treated as social insurance. In other words, it's its own dedicated funds that are able to pay for Social Security, and it would take legislative change, statutory change, in order for general revenues to be used on an ongoing basis. But that is a real possibility because the size of the problem is significant. So as advisors, what are the things that we can do to prepare clients for what may happen? The first thing is to understand and communicate the relevant dates and the potential that if Congress can't get together and come up with a solution, then we're really looking at roughly a 23, 24, 25% benefit cut, depending on which year's trustees reports you're looking at. That's the first point. The second point is to really identify how that impacts the client's financial plan in total. Now, for most of our clients, Social Security represents a small, maybe even a medium-sized portion of their overall retirement income. And so identifying how much a benefit cut to that portion of their overall retirement income will actually impact them is critically important. For many people, even if a benefit cut materializes, their retirement overall would still be on sound footing. For others, we probably need to make some changes now to account for the fact that there may be a benefit cut in the future. Now, the third thing to consider is what kinds of reforms are possible. Now, there is a huge document on Social Security's website, and if you just Google SSA solvency, you're going to get to this page. But it's about a 40-page document that every year Social Security updates with its most recent assumptions that outlines a variety of different legislative proposals and what the impact of those different proposals would have on the overall solvency of the Social Security system, on its ability to continue to pay benefits. Becoming versed in at least the categories, because I think most people are not aware that we can make changes to full retirement age. That's actually a benefit cut. We can increase tax revenue either through payroll tax revenue or increasing taxes on Social Security benefits, particularly for higher wage earners. We can change a variety of formulaic items in Social Security, such as adding another bend point. And if you're not familiar with that, there's a good description in that document. So really there are three things that you'll want to do. You'll want to be familiar with the dates and the percentages. Number two, you'll want the capacity to talk about the impact on the client's plan overall. And number three, you want to be aware at least of the broad categories of relevant reform provisions that could happen and how they might impact different segments of your client base. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you on the next FinPlan Friday.